My brother destroyed my relationship of 3 years, saying things just happened. Everyone told me to let it go, so I let go of the family business that I'd been keeping together for years and watched it crumble. I'm 32 male sitting here in my new apartment 3 months removed from the nuclear bomb that went off in my family, and I figured it was time to get this off my chest. Some of you might think I went too far. Most of you will probably say I didn't go far enough. Either way, here's how I systematically destroyed my family's finances after discovering my brother had been screwing my girlfriend for our entire 3-year relationship. Let me start with the family dynamics because that's an important context for understanding why I did what I did. My younger brother Ethan has always been the golden child. Not in the subtle way where you wonder if you're being paranoid. I'm talking about the kind of favoritism that's so blatant it would make a sitcom writer say, "Tone it down." That's unrealistic. Growing up, I was the responsible one. Got good grades without being asked, helped around the house, had a part-time job by 15. Standard older sibling stuff. Ethan, though, different rules entirely. Failed classes in high school. He's just not challenged enough. Got caught shoplifting. Just a phase. Boys will be boys. Crashed dad's car. Accidents happen. That's what insurance is for. Meanwhile, I got a 2-week grounding for coming home an hour past curfew because I was helping a friend whose car broke down. The real kicker is how this followed us into adulthood. I worked my ass off to get through college, graduated with a finance degree, and landed a solid job as a financial analyst. Nothing glamorous, but I made decent money and was climbing the ladder. Bought my own place at 26, paid off my car, had actual savings. Ethan dropped out of college after 1 year, bounced between ventures that never panned out, and lived in mom and dad's basement until he was 25. Every failed business was just bad timing, or people didn't understand his vision. Every job he quit was because his boss couldn't handle his innovative ideas. But here's where it gets relevant to the story. 3 years ago, Dad asked me to help him restructure his construction company's finances. He'd built a decent business over 30 years, but was old school about money management. Everything was in his head or on paper. No real systems in place. I spent 6 months setting up proper bookkeeping, creating spreadsheets for project tracking, and establishing relationships with better suppliers. I saved him probably $80,000 that first year just by streamlining operations. His thank you a handshake, and that's what family does. Fast forward 2 years, and Dad decides to semi-retire, brings Ethan on as his successor. Despite my brother having exactly zero experience in construction project management or running a business, I'd been helping manage the finances for free this whole time. But Ethan got the actual title, the salary, and Dad put his name on half the business ownership. When I pointed out that I'd basically been doing the CFO job without pay for 3 years, Dad said, "You have your own career. Ethan needs this more than you do, right?" Because that's how business succession should work. Give it to the person who needs it most, not the person who's actually qualified. But I let it slide because I'm a goddamn doormat who kept thinking family should mean something. Now let's talk about my girlfriend. Well, ex-girlfriend Melissa. Met her 4 years ago through mutual friends at a barbecue. She was fun, smart, worked as a dental hygienist, and we just clicked. Started dating pretty seriously after a couple months. I introduced her to my family around month 3, which looking back was probably when everything went to hell. Ethan laid on the charm immediately. This is his specialty, being the charismatic, funny life of the party guy, while I'm the boring one who talks about spreadsheets and retirement accounts. I remember him pulling me aside that first dinner and saying, "Dude, she's way out of your league. How'd you manage that?" I laughed it off, stupid me. Over the next 3 years, Melissa got really involved with my family. She'd go to their Sunday dinners, help Mom with holiday cooking, even went on a few shopping trips with my aunt. I thought this was great. My girlfriend getting along with my family. What could possibly go wrong? She and Ethan became particularly friendly. They followed each other on social media. She'd laugh extra hard at his jokes, and he'd always find reasons to chat with her at family gatherings. But I trusted her, so I never thought anything of it. My best friend Marcus tried warning me about 6 months ago. We were at a bar watching the game and he brought it up casually. "Hey man, not trying to start shit, but has Melissa been acting weird lately, like distant?" I thought about it. She had been less interested in sex, picked more fights over stupid stuff, and was on her phone constantly. But I'd been busy with work, so I figured we were just in a bit of a rut. Every relationship goes through phases. I told Marcus, "We're fine." He didn't push it, but he gave me this look, the one that says, "I tried to tell you." The truth came out 3 months ago, in the most pathetic way possible. I was at my parents' house, helping Dad with some paperwork. Ethan was supposed to be at a job site, and Melissa was supposed to be working an afternoon shift. I was in the home office when I heard noises upstairs. Figured maybe Dad was up there, so I went to check. That's when I heard them in Ethan's childhood bedroom, which he still used when he stayed over. Melissa's voice is very clearly not alone. Then Ethan laughs. I stood there in that hallway for probably 30 seconds. My brain refused to process what I was hearing. Then the anger kicked in. Not the explosive kind, the cold, calculating kind that makes you think clearly for the first time in years. I pulled out my phone and started recording audio through the door. Got about 2 minutes of very incriminating evidence. Then I walked downstairs, got in my car, and drove home. Didn't confront them. Didn't burst through the door. Just collected evidence and left. That night, I went through Melissa's laptop while she was in the shower. I know invasion of privacy, but fuck it. My gut was right. Found messages going back almost 3 years, pretty much our entire relationship. The messages were disgusting. Not just the sexual stuff, but the way they talked about me. He's so boring in bed. Does he ever just do something spontaneous? Your brother's cute, but he's basically a robot. Ethan's responses were worse. He won't find out. He's too busy with work. Sometimes I feel bad, but like she clearly prefers me. Honestly, dude's got no game. The timeline was damning. First message was dated 3 months after Melissa and I started dating. They had been screwing around at family gatherings in my apartment when I was at work, even in my car once when Melissa borrowed it. I spent that entire night documenting everything. Screenshots, timestamps, the audio recording from earlier. Built a complete file. Then I opened a beer and started planning. The next morning, Melissa tried to have sex with me. I told her I wasn't feeling well. She seemed relieved. I spent the week acting completely normal. Went to work, came home, had dinner with Melissa, watched TV. The whole time I was setting my pieces in place. First, I contacted 3 different lawyers and set up consultations. Wanted to understand my legal options, especially regarding Dad's business and any financial entanglements. Second, I backed up every file I'd created for Dad's company to a personal hard drive. 3 years of financial records, supplier contracts, project management systems, client contacts, everything that kept that business running smoothly. Then I reformatted the company's backup drives. Whoops! Third, I started making phone calls. Remember how I built relationships with their suppliers? Time to use that. Told them I was leaving the company and wanted to thank them for their business. Casually mentioned I'd be freelancing as a financial consultant if they ever needed help. Several said they'd keep me in mind. Fourth, and this is important, I reached out to their biggest client, a property development company that accounted for about 40% of my dad's revenue. The owner, Richard, and I had become friendly over the years. I'd helped him understand the bids, explained cost breakdowns, and even caught a few errors that saved him money. I told Richard I was stepping away from the family business and wanted to give him a heads up that he should probably review all future contracts, carefully mentioned that my replacement didn't have much experience with commercial construction. Richard thanked me and said he'd keep that in mind. Then I waited for the perfect moment. It came the following Sunday at family dinner. Everyone was there. Mom, Dad, Ethan, my aunt, and Uncle Melissa. I'd brought my laptop, telling everyone I wanted to show them photos from a work event. We finished eating and Mom was clearing plates when I stood up and said I had something to share. "So, I've got some news," I started. "Melissa and I are breaking up." Everyone froze. Melissa went pale. Ethan stared at his plate. Mom immediately started with, "Oh, honey, what happened? You two seemed so happy." "Well, that's actually the interesting part," I said, pulling up my laptop. "We seemed happy because I didn't know Melissa had been fucking my brother for the last 3 years. The silence was deafening, then chaos. Mom gasping, Dad demanding to know what I was talking about. My aunt looking between Ethan and Melissa like she couldn't process it. I pulled up the screenshots, turned the laptop around. Here's 3 years of messages. Here's the audio from last week when I caught them in Ethan's old room. And here's a compiled timeline showing they've been screwing around at basically every family gathering since month 3 of my relationship. Melissa started crying immediately. Not the "I'm sorry I hurt you" crying that I got caught crying. Big difference. Ethan, though. Ethan tried to play it cool. "Look, man," he started. I cut him off. "Do not fucking talk to me." Mom predictably went into damage control mode. "Let's all just calm down and discuss this rationally. Getting angry won't solve anything." "I am calm," I said. "I've had a week to process this. What I'm not going to do is pretend it didn't happen." Dad finally spoke up. "Son, this is obviously very serious. Ethan, what the hell were you thinking?" Ethan shrugged. Actually shrugged. "I don't know, Dad. These things just happen sometimes. These things just happen." That's when I lost it. Not yelling wise, but something inside me just went completely cold. "You know what?" I said. "You're absolutely right. Things do just happen. Speaking of which, I wanted to let you know I'm done with the company effective immediately. No more free financial consulting, no more managing the books, no more supplier relationships. You two have fun figuring it out." Dad's face went from angry to concerned real quick. "Now hold on, let's not make business decisions based on personal issues." "Personal issues? Dad, your golden boy has been fucking my girlfriend in your house for 3 years. That's not personal issues. That's a fundamental lack of respect that I'm done tolerating." Melissa started talking then some shit about how it just happened and how she never meant to hurt me and blah blah blah. I cut her off. "You're done talking. Get your shit out of my apartment by tomorrow night or it's going in the dumpster." Then I turned to Ethan and you. "I hope she was worth it, really, because you're about to find out what that company looks like when you actually have to run it yourself." Mom started in with her peacemaker routine. "Let's not say things we'll regret. Family is forever. And I know everyone's upset right now, but Mom, I'm going to stop you right there." I said, "You've spent my entire life making excuses for Ethan. Every failure, every screw-up, every selfish thing he's ever done, you've enabled him to become the kind of person who'd do this without a second thought. So, no, I'm not interested in keeping peace. I'm interested in never seeing any of you again." I closed my laptop and walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't give anyone a chance to respond. Just left. Got in my car, drove to Marcus's place and told him everything. His response, "Finally, I've been waiting for you to grow a spine." The next day was Monday. I went into Dad's office early before anyone else arrived, packed up my personal items, deleted my login credentials from all the company systems, and left my keys on the desk. Then I sent an email to Dad and Ethan. "I'm officially resigning from any involvement with the company, paid or unpaid. All financial records, project files, and supplier contracts are backed up on the system. The login credentials are with your IT guy. I've removed my access to all accounts. Best of luck with future projects. Don't contact me unless it's through a lawyer." I forwarded that email to my personal account and the lawyers I'd consulted with. Paper trail, baby. Melissa showed up at my apartment that night crying and begging to talk. I had the locks changed that morning so she couldn't get in. She stood outside my door for 20 minutes before finally leaving. The text started after that from everyone. "Mom, please don't do this. We can work through it as a family. Dad, we need to talk about the business. This is bigger than personal feelings." Ethan, "Bro, come on. You're really going to throw away family over this? Sorry, man. But sometimes these things just happen. Can't we just move past it?" That fucking text from Ethan made my blood boil all over again. Sometimes these things just happen. I forwarded it to Mom with a simple message. "This is who you raised. Congratulations." Her response, "He's young and made a mistake. Don't cause drama by holding grudges. We're family." Don't cause drama. That's what pushed me from walking away to actively burning it all down. See, I was going to just cut contact and move on with my life. Get therapy, heal, find someone who wasn't a cheating piece of shit. But that text from Mom, that crystallized something for me. They didn't think what happened was actually wrong. They just thought I was overreacting. So I decided to give them a real problem to worry about. Remember those supplier relationships? I'd built time to activate them. I reached out to their lumber supplier first. These guys provided about 60% of their materials for residential projects. Had a great relationship with the owner, Tom, who'd always appreciated how promptly I processed payments and caught invoicing errors. "Hey Tom, just wanted to give you a heads up," I told him over the phone. I'm no longer with the company. My brother's taking over the financial side, and he's got some different ideas about payment terms. Tom was quiet for a moment. Different how? Well, you know how we always did net 30 and actually paid on time. Yeah, I can't speak to whether that's going to continue. Just thought you should know since we've had such a good working relationship. Tom thanked me for the warning. Within a week, they switched Dad's account from net 30 to payment on delivery. No more floating costs between projects. I made similar calls to their other major suppliers. Didn't badmouth the company directly, just mentioned I was no longer managing finances and couldn't vouch for future payment reliability. Most of them tightened their terms immediately. Then I reached out to Richard, the property developer, took him to lunch, told him the full story of what happened. He was sympathetic and mentioned he'd been thinking about my warning. Your brother put in a bid for our Oak Street project. Richard said, it's about 30% lower than what you would normally quote. Yeah, that's because he doesn't understand that those margins are already tight. He probably thinks he can make it up somewhere, but he can't. You'll get halfway through the project and either quality will tank, or he'll come back asking for more money. Richard nodded slowly. What would you bid for that project? I did some quick mental math factoring in material costs, labor, and realistic profit margins. Gave him a number that was 25% higher than Ethan's bid, but actually achievable. That's more in line with what I expected, Richard said. Tell you what, I'm going to decline your dad's bid. If you ever want to start your own consulting firm, let me know. I'd rather work with someone who knows what they're doing. That lunch planted a seed, but I'll get back to that. The following week, I started noticing the pressure building on Dad and Ethan. Dad called me directly for the first time, skipping the texts. We need to talk about the supplier situation, he said, trying to sound authoritative but mostly sounding stressed. They're all changing our payment terms. Do you know anything about that? No idea, Dad. I'm not with the company anymore, remember? These relationships took years to build. Yes, they did. I built them by being reliable and professional. Maybe they're just adjusting to the new management structure. He was quiet for a long moment. The Oak Street project fell through too. Richard said our bid wasn't realistic. That's unfortunate. You talked to him, didn't you? I had lunch with a former client. Yes, as a private citizen. Is that illegal? He hung up on me. The text from Mom intensified. I was being vindictive. This was affecting the whole family. Why couldn't I just let it go? They'd said they were sorry. Except they hadn't. Not really. There was no apology that acknowledged what they'd actually done wrong. Just sorry you're upset and sorry this happened and let's move past this. So I kept going. I set up a consulting LLC. Took me about 2 weeks to get everything registered and set up a basic website. Reached out to my network in the construction industry, contractors, project managers, developers I'd worked with over the years, offered financial consulting services, bid preparation, supplier, negotiations, bookkeeping, whatever they needed. Within a month, I had 4 clients. Within 2 months, I was making more money than my day job. Gave my notice at the financial analyst position and went full-time consulting. And here's the beautiful part. 3 of those clients were companies that used to subcontract with Dad's business. They didn't do it to spite him. They just needed financial expertise and I was available. But it meant projects that would have gone to Dad were now going to competitors who had better financial management. Dad's business started hemorrhaging money, not dramatically at first, just a slow bleed. Projects coming in under budget that they'd bid too low on. Material costs exceeding projections because Ethan hadn't factored in delivery fees and waste. Labor running over because Ethan had optimistically scheduled everything without buffer time. About 3 months after I left, Dad called me again. We need help, he said. No preamble, no small talk. The business is in trouble. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't give me that corporate shit. You know exactly what's happening. We can't get favorable terms from suppliers anymore. We're losing bids to people who are suddenly undercutting us, and half our reliable subcontractors have moved on. Sounds like a rough market, I said. Have you considered hiring a financial consultant? I hear there are some good ones available. God damn it, stop playing games. This is serious. You're right, it is serious. So was what Ethan and Melissa did. So was your response when I told you about it. Remember that, don't cause drama. Well, this isn't drama, this is business. If we go under your mother and I lose everything, the house, our retirement, all of it. That gave me pause. Not because I felt bad, but because I wanted to make sure I understood the scope. What do you mean, everything? Turns out, in his infinite wisdom, Dad had been using the house as collateral for business loans. The construction business had grown over the years, but so had the debt. When times were good and I was managing the finances, the cash flow covered everything. Now, not so much. How much are you underwater? I asked. About $300,000, maybe more. Jesus Christ. Dad, that's not something that happened in 3 months. How long have you been operating at a loss? Silence. Then, maybe a year. Ethan said he had it under control. Of course he did. Let me guess. Ethan's been paying himself a salary this whole time. He's the managing partner. He deserves compensation for his work. And how's that working out? More silence. Here's my offer, I said. I'll consult for your business. My rate is $200 an hour, minimum 20 hours per week. Build bi-weekly payment due on receipt. I'll audit your finances, create a realistic budget, and renegotiate with suppliers where possible. But here are my conditions. 1. Ethan is removed from any financial decision-making. 2. Any major business decision goes through me first. 3. We never discuss personal family matters. This is purely business. That's excessive. You used to do this for free. I used to do a lot of things before your son fucked my girlfriend in your house for 3 years while you all covered for him. Prices have gone up, take it or leave it. He took it. Not because he wanted to, but because he was desperate. I showed up the following Monday with a contract that would make a loan shark proud. Beyond my hourly rate, I had clauses about decision-making authority, access to all financial records, and the ability to terminate the contract with 2 weeks' notice if they didn't comply with my recommendations. The audit was worse than I expected. Ethan hadn't just been bad at the job. He'd been actively terrible. I found $45,000 in unpaid invoices from completed projects because Ethan forgot to send them $30,000 in duplicate payments to suppliers because he didn't check if bills had been paid already. 3 projects bid so low, they'd actually lost money. A company credit card Ethan had been using for personal expenses, about $800 per month in restaurant charges, gas for his personal vehicle, and 1 weekend trip to Vegas. Payroll taxes that hadn't been filed properly in 6 months, meaning they were accruing penalties. I documented everything, sent a full report to Dad with a simple cover note. This is what you get when you hand a business to someone based on favoritism rather than competence. Then I presented my recommendations. Ethan needed to be removed from any financial authority immediately. They needed to set up automatic payment systems for all recurring bills. We needed to renegotiate payment terms with the IRS, which would cost them about $10,000 in penalties, but better than the alternative. They needed to stop taking new projects until existing ones were completed and billed. Dad needed to take a smaller salary for 6 months while they rebuilt cash reserves. The company credit card Ethan had been using needed to be canceled, and he needed to reimburse the personal charges. Dad agreed to everything except removing Ethan from the company entirely. Said he was still his son and deserved a place in the family business. Fine. I structured it so Ethan could keep his title and salary reduced by 30%, but still. But he had zero access to company finances, client communications, or bidding. He was basically a project manager with no authority. Ethan lost his mind when he found out. Started calling me directly. I'd unblocked him for business purposes only and screaming about how I was trying to destroy his life. "You're just pissed about Melissa," he said. "This is all revenge." "No, this is me cleaning up your mess again. The difference is now I'm getting paid for it. You've always been jealous of me. Admit it." I actually laughed at that. Jealous of what? Your ability to fail at everything you touch? Your talent for disappointing people? The way you betrayed your own brother because you couldn't keep it in your pants? Yeah, I'm super jealous. He hung up, blocked me again, whatever. Over the next few weeks, I systematically rebuilt what I could, reached out to suppliers I had relationships with, and negotiated new terms. Not as good as they used to be, but better than payment on delivery collected. Those unpaid invoices set up a proper accounting system that even Dad could follow. But here's the thing, I only did exactly what I was contracted to do. I didn't go above and beyond. I didn't work nights and weekends. I didn't bring in new clients or chase big projects. I did my 20 hours per week, billed them, and went back to my own thriving consulting business. The business stabilized but didn't grow. They were no longer hemorrhaging money, but they weren't making the kind of profit they used to either. And that was sustainable for the business, but not for Dad's retirement plans. About 5 months into this arrangement, Mom called me. This was the first time we'd spoken directly since that dinner. "Your father is exhausted," she said. "He's 64 years old and working 60-hour weeks trying to keep this business afloat. This needs to end." I agree. He should sell the business and retire. He built this company from nothing. It's his legacy. Then he should have thought about that before handing it to someone who had no idea what they were doing. "What do you want from me, Mom?" "I want you to come back, run the business properly, help your father retire with dignity." At what cost do I just forget that Ethan spent 3 years sleeping with my girlfriend? Do I pretend it's normal that you all knew and said nothing? That your first response was to tell me not to cause drama? "We didn't know," she insisted. "Fucking Melissa spent every Sunday at your house. Ethan was there every Sunday. You think they were just really good friends? You all saw what you wanted to see because it was easier than dealing with reality. That's not fair. Be fair. You want to talk about fair. Where was fair when I spent 3 years helping Dad for free? Where was fair when Ethan got handed a business he wasn't qualified to run? Where was fair when you told me to let it go after I found out I'd been cheated on for 3 years? She didn't have an answer for that. "Here's what's going to happen." I said, "I'm going to finish out my contract, which has 4 months left. In that time, I'll get the business to a point where it can be sold, Dad can retire, you can downsize, and Ethan can figure out his own career path. After that, I'm done. No family dinners, no holidays, no pretending we're one big happy family." "You're being cruel." "No, I'm being honest. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first instead of sacrificing for a family that doesn't appreciate it. You should try it sometime." I hung up before she could respond. True to my word, I spent the next 4 months preparing the business for sale. Updated all the systems, documented every process, built a portfolio of completed projects, and reached out to my network about potential buyers. Found one too. A mid-sized construction firm looking to expand into our region. They had been impressed by some of our recent work, the projects I'd managed to turn around, and saw potential. Offered $750,000 for the business, which after paying off Dad's debts would leave him and Mom with about $400,000. Not enough for a lavish retirement, but enough to be comfortable if they were smart about it. The sale closed 2 months ago. I attended the final signing as a consultant, not as family. Shook hands with the new owners, handed over all my documentation, and walked out. Dad tried to talk to me afterward. "I know things didn't go the way anyone wanted." "They went exactly the way you made them go." I said, "You chose Ethan over competence. You chose peace over holding anyone accountable. These are the consequences." "He's still your brother biologically?" "Yes, in every other way that matters." "Number, we're done here." I left. Haven't spoken to any of them since. The epilogue is actually pretty satisfying. My consulting business is thriving. I'm making about 3 times what I made at my analyst job and work half the hours. Turns out, when you're good at something and people don't take advantage of you, you can build a pretty nice life. I'm dating someone new. She's a project manager at one of my client companies. Smart, independent, and when I told her the full story of what happened with my family, her response was, "Holy shit, you're way nicer than I would have been. We're taking things slow, but it's good." As for my family, last I heard from Marcus, who keeps tabs through mutual friends. Things are not great. Dad and Mom sold their house and downsized to a condo. The retirement money is going faster than expected because they're helping Ethan with rent. Yes, helping Ethan with rent. Turns out when you lose your cushy fake job because the business gets sold and you have no actual skills or work history, you struggle to find employment. Who knew Melissa tried to reach out a few months ago? Long text about how she'd been in therapy, realized what she'd done wrong, and wanted to apologize properly. I read it, felt absolutely nothing, and deleted it without responding. Ethan's text was even better. "I hope you're happy now. You destroyed our family's business just to get revenge." I actually did respond to that one. I didn't destroy anything. I salvaged what I could from your incompetence, got Dad enough money to retire, and walked away. The fact that you see me refusing to sacrifice myself for you anymore, as revenge, says everything about who you are. Don't contact me again. He didn't. People keep asking me if I regret how I handled it, if I feel bad that my family's struggling. The honest answer number, not even a little bit. I regret trusting people who didn't deserve it. I regret not setting boundaries earlier. I regret ignoring red flags because I thought family meant unconditional support, but destroying their finances. Refusing to sacrifice myself to fix problems I didn't create. Walking away from people who thought don't cause drama was an appropriate response to being betrayed. Zero regrets. Mom's last text to me about a month ago. Family is supposed to forgive each other. My response, family is supposed to not fuck each other over in the first place. You should try that with your next kid. Then I blocked her number. So yeah, Reddit. That's my story. My brother fucked my girlfriend. My family told me not to cause drama, so I caused financial ruin instead. Some of you will say I'm an asshole. That's fine. I'm an asshole who sleeps great at night and isn't anyone's doormat anymore. If you're in a similar situation, here's my advice. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Stop sacrificing for people who wouldn't do the same for you. And if someone tells you not to cause drama after they've hurt you because the drama, just make sure it's the kind that's measured, deliberate, and leaves them unable to blame you for their own failures. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't getting angry. It's building a better life while they figure out how to function without using you as their safety net. Turns out, most of them can't. And honestly, that's their problem, not mine anymore.